No one understood why the old stallion suddenly stopped in the middle of the snowstorm. The herd kept moving forward, lowering their heads against the icy wind, but he stood frozen on top of a hill, as if he had seen something in the white emptiness. The ranch hands shouted and waved their arms, but the horse did not move. Then something happened that no one could explain. The stallion suddenly turned around and charged back into the storm, straight toward the place they had just come from. 3 hours later, people found a little boy lying in the snow who would already have been dead if the horse had not gone back for him. But that was only part of the story, because no one knew then that this stallion would one day save an entire ranch and pay for it with his own life. Black Creek Ranch lay among the endless plains of Wyoming. In winter, the wind roamed freely there, as if the whole world belonged only to it. In summer, the sun turned the grass into a golden sea. For most people, it was a harsh place. For Jake Harper, it was the only home he had ever known. He was 35 years old, a tall, quiet cowboy with the face of a man who had lost too much. His wife had died from an illness 5 years earlier. His only son lived with Jake's sister in a neighboring state and visited only a few times a year. After his wife's death, Jake changed. He worked harder, spoke less, almost never smiled. People respected him, but they tried not to pry into his life. And only one living soul could still reach him, a massive black stallion named Storm. The horse had arrived at the ranch as a foal. Jake had raised him by hand, feeding him from a bottle after his mother died during childbirth. They grew up together. Storm understood his owner without words. When Jake was angry, the horse would move closer. When life became difficult, he would lie down beside him near the campfire. When grief returned, he would simply stand by his side. Sometimes people felt that some invisible connection existed between them, but one day, everything changed. It happened in early October. A new ranch manager arrived. His name was Clayton Moore. He came from Texas and immediately began imposing his own rules. Tall, loud, overconfident. He loved money more than animals. Within a week, the workers had already begun complaining to one another. Clayton cut corners on feed, forced people to work without proper rest, constantly insisted that the old ranching methods were outdated. But the worst thing was the way he treated the horses. To him, they were nothing more than merchandise. One morning, Jake saw Clayton whipping a young colt because it had become frightened by a freight wagon. Storm was standing nearby, his ears flattened. His eyes darkened. Then he took a step forward, just one step, but it was enough. Clayton turned sharply. Their eyes met. Man and horse stared at each other for several long seconds. Then the manager smirked. "Don't like it, huh?" Storm quietly struck the ground with a hoof. The workers exchanged uneasy glances. Old Ben, the ranch's veteran stableman, simply shook his head. He shouldn't have done that. "Done what?" someone asked. "Made Storm choose a side," Clayton laughed. But Ben did not, because he knew one thing: horses notice things people cannot see. A week passed, then another. The tension kept growing. One night, 3 of the ranch's finest stallions disappeared from the pasture. Their tracks ended near the northern canyon. Clayton immediately blamed the local cowboys. Investigations began. Questions were asked. Arguments broke out. People stopped trusting one another. The ranch was slowly falling apart. But Storm began acting strangely. Every evening he would leave for an old ravine near the forest. He stood there for hours, watching the darkness. No one understood why, except Ben. The old man watched him for several days. Then he told Jake, "Your horse found something." "What exactly?" "I don't know, but he's trying to show people." Jake frowned. He did not believe in such things. Still, he decided to investigate. The next morning, he saddled Storm and allowed the horse to choose the route. The stallion confidently headed toward the forest. Then he turned toward the ravine. Then even farther, to a place where people almost never went. An hour later, they reached an old abandoned mine. Jake had never seen it before. Storm stopped. He began snorting nervously. Then he suddenly struck the ground with his hoof. That was when Jake noticed the fresh tracks. A lot of tracks. Horse tracks, human tracks. Blood pounded in his temples. Carefully, he dismounted. He moved closer, and inside the mine, he saw the stolen stallions, all three of them, tied up, hidden away. Someone was preparing them for sale, but the most terrifying discovery was still ahead. Because nearby lay a bag. Inside it were documents, and the name written on the first page made Jake go pale. It was the name of Clayton Moore. Jake stared at the documents for so long that the cold wind had already covered his boots with snow. Clayton's name was written on every page. Sales contracts, receipts, transportation routes. Everything looked so obvious that it seemed to require no explanation at all. The ranch manager had organized the theft of his own horses. But the longer Jake flipped through the papers, the stronger a strange feeling grew inside him. Something was wrong. Too simple. Too convenient. As if someone had wanted these documents to be found. Storm suddenly jerked his head and let out a loud snort. His gaze was fixed deep into the forest, toward a shadow that flickered between the pine trees. Jake immediately looked up. Someone was watching him. He rushed forward, but the figure had already vanished. Only the snow continued to drift slowly between the trees. When Jake returned to the ranch, emotions were already running high. Clayton stood near the stable, surrounded by workers. When they saw the recovered stallions, people began shouting. Some were celebrating. Others were cursing. Then Jake showed them the documents. Silence fell. Every eye turned toward the manager. Clayton went pale. For a moment, just a second, but Jake noticed it. "Explain this." His voice was hard. "It's a forgery." "Then why is your name on it?" "Because someone is trying to frame me." People exchanged uncertain glances. Some no longer knew whom to believe. That was when old Ben stepped forward. He carefully examined the papers, then looked at Clayton, then back at the papers. "Strange." "What's strange?" Clayton snapped. "The signature." "And what about it?" "It's real." The manager's face changed. "But the ink is fresh." Everyone fell silent. These documents were written recently, no more than a week ago. And what does that mean? It means someone used Clayton's real signature on forged documents. A murmur swept through the crowd. Now everything was even more confusing. That evening, Jake sat alone beside the stable. Storm stood nearby, a massive silhouette against the setting sun. "What are you trying to tell me, old friend?" The horse slowly turned his head, as if he truly understood the question. Then he looked toward the forest again, the same direction he had been staring at near the mine. Jake let out a heavy sigh. The next morning, he decided to investigate everything again. But he woke up to shouting. The entire ranch was on its feet. People were running toward the southern pastures. Some were yelling. Others were waving their arms. Jake jumped onto Storm and rode hard in that direction. What he saw made his blood run cold. A young cowboy lay on the ground. Tommy. He was only 18 years old. The boy was alive, but badly injured. His horse lay nearby, dead. The tracks around them looked as though a brutal attack had taken place. What happened? Tommy tried to lift his head. They... Who? Men in masks. The boy coughed. There were 3 of them. What did they want? They were looking for something. Tommy closed his eyes and lost consciousness. The workers began whispering nervously among themselves. This no longer looked like an ordinary horse theft. Someone was conducting a real hunt. That same evening, a storm rolled in. The worst one in years. The wind howled between the buildings. Snow flew almost horizontally. People locked themselves inside their homes. Even the animals were restless. Around midnight, Jake was awakened by a loud crash. He ran outside and immediately noticed that the stable door was standing wide open. His heart sank. He rushed inside. Empty. Storm's stall was open. The stallion was gone. No. Jake ran back outside. The snow was almost instantly covering the tracks, but he still managed to see the direction. The horse had left on his own. No one had taken him. Storm was hurrying somewhere, as if he had sensed something again. Despite the storm, Jake saddled another horse and followed. Visibility was terrible. The wind struck his face like icy needles. Several times he nearly lost his way. Then, far ahead, a familiar silhouette appeared. Storm. The black stallion stood at the edge of a frozen river and stared downward. Jake approached, looked in the same direction, and the blood froze in his veins. Someone was beneath the ice. A person. A living person. There really was a person beneath the thick layer of ice. He was moving, very slowly, as if the last of his strength was slipping away. Jake instantly jumped off his horse. My God! The ice near the shore was thin. He carefully lay on his stomach and crawled closer. Storm stood nearby, anxiously pawing at the ground. The man beneath the ice suddenly opened his eyes and looked directly at Jake. There was terror in his gaze. Raw, animal terror. He began desperately pounding his fist against the ice. Jake grabbed the axe he always carried on his saddle. The first strike, a crack. The second, the third. At last, the ice broke open. Freezing water burst upward. Jake grabbed the man's jacket and pulled. Both of them nearly disappeared beneath the ice. But Storm suddenly stepped forward. Jake seized the reins. The stallion tensed every muscle in his body and literally pulled them onto the riverbank. The man coughed violently. Water poured from his mouth. Several seconds passed before Jake realized who he had rescued. It was not a stranger. It was Clayton, the ranch manager. His face was badly bruised. A massive black eye had spread beneath one eye. Dried blood stained his temple. It looked as though someone had beaten him brutally before leaving him to die in the frozen river. Clayton was trembling from head to toe. Who? They know. Who knows? That I started asking questions. His voice cracked. Who attacked you? Clayton tried to answer, but he lost consciousness. When they returned to the ranch, Jake realized the situation was becoming far more dangerous than he had imagined. If someone had truly tried to kill Clayton, then the real criminal was still nearby, and that person was willing to eliminate anyone who came too close to the truth. The next 2 days passed in constant tension. The storm did not let up. The snowdrifts grew higher and higher. Most of the workers barely left their homes. Clayton remained in the guest room under the care of the local doctor. When he finally regained consciousness, Jake immediately sat down beside him. Start talking. Clayton was silent for a long time, as though he was deciding whether it was safe to speak. Then he let out a heavy sigh. I didn't steal the horses. Then who did? I don't know. But you found something. Clayton closed his eyes. A week ago, I noticed money was missing. What money? Money from livestock sales. A large amount. A very large amount. Jake frowned. And someone was falsifying reports, moving money through middlemen. Did you find the person responsible? Clayton shook his head. Almost. He swallowed hard. That's why they tried to kill me. Silence filled the room. Did you see his face? No. It was night. But I heard his voice. Whose voice? Clayton looked directly at Jake. The voice of someone everyone considers a friend. A chill ran down Jake's spine. That could mean only one thing. The criminal was among them. Among the people of the ranch. Among those they had known for years. The very next day, something else happened. Storm disappeared. Again. This time, the horse left before dawn. Jake immediately went looking for him. The tracks led far to the north, toward the old forest. Several hours later, he found the stallion. Storm was standing beside a giant pine tree, not moving, simply staring at the ground. Jake approached and saw the earth, or rather, a patch where the snow had recently been disturbed. He began digging with his bare hands. A minute later, the corner of a wooden box appeared. A few minutes after that, Jake had completely cleared it of snow. It was a hiding place, an old iron chest, locked with a heavy padlock. His heart began to pound. He smashed the lock open with a rock, lifted the lid, and froze. Inside were stacks of money, hundreds of bundles, tens of thousands of dollars, possibly even more. But the money was not what made his blood run cold. On top lay a photograph, an old photograph of the ranch workers. On the back, only 2 words were written: "He is here." Jake felt the wind suddenly die. A frightening silence settled over the forest. Even Storm stopped moving. Then, from behind the trees, came the unmistakable sound of a gun being cocked. "Don't move, Jake." The voice came from very close by, the voice of a man he had known for nearly 20 years. And in that very moment, Jake realized who had been behind the thefts, the attacks, and the lies all along. The voice came so unexpectedly that Jake froze before he even had a chance to turn around. Storm instantly pinned his ears back. His powerful body tensed. He recognized the voice too. Slowly step away from the chest, Jake turned around and felt everything inside him go cold. Standing before him was Ben, the old stableman. The man who was respected more than anyone else on the ranch. The man everyone trusted completely. A Winchester rifle rested in his hands, and it was aimed directly at Jake's chest. For several seconds, neither of them moved. The wind began whispering through the trees again. "It was you?" Jake's voice was barely above a whisper. Ben smiled sadly. "I didn't want it to end like this. You stole the horses? Sometimes. You attacked people?" The smile disappeared. "Not always personally." Every word hit harder than a punch. Jake could hardly believe it. This was the man who had taught him how to saddle a horse. The man who had stood beside him after his wife died. The man who had shared the same table with the ranch workers for years. And all that time, he had been hiding another face. "Why?" Ben lowered his eyes. "Because I got tired of being poor." "For money? It's always about money." The old man let out a bitter laugh. "I gave this ranch 40 years of my life. 40 years. And what did I get in return? A bad back and a room above the stable." He looked at the chest. "When the chance came to make real money, I took it. So you started selling horses?" "At first, only one, then another. Then it became too late to stop." Jake felt sick with disgust, but something else frightened him even more. Ben did not look like a man who intended to surrender. "What happens now?" Ben sighed heavily. "Now you're going away. Where?" "The same place the others went." Jake felt his blood freeze. "The others?" Ben looked him straight in the eyes. "Do you think all those missing cowboys simply left?" The world seemed to sway. Over the years, several ranch workers really had disappeared. Everyone assumed they had found jobs elsewhere. No one asked too many questions. Now, everything was becoming clear. Far too clear. "You killed them." "I didn't want to." But they started asking questions. Storm suddenly stepped forward. Ben immediately swung the rifle toward the stallion. "Stay back." The horse froze, but his eyes never left the old man. Then, something strange happened. Ben's face twitched, just for a second, as though a memory had surfaced from somewhere deep inside him. "Funny." He stared at Storm. "He's just like his father." Jake frowned. "What? You never knew the truth." "The truth about what?" Ben smirked. "Storm's mother didn't die during childbirth." Jake's heart skipped a beat. "What did you say?" "I killed her." Silence fell. Even the wind seemed to stop. "Why?" "She saw me near the corrals one night. She started panicking. I got scared. I hit her, too hard." Storm let out a deafening neigh, so loud that it echoed through the entire forest. Jake had never heard such a sound before. There was rage in it, real rage, Ben raised the rifle higher. Quiet, but it was too late. Storm exploded forward. The massive black stallion sent snow flying beneath his hooves. A gunshot thundered. The bullet whistled past. A second shot. A third. The horse kept charging. Ben tried to jump aside. He was too late. The impact was devastating. The stallion slammed into him with his full weight. The rifle flew away. The old man crashed into the snow. Jake rushed forward. A struggle began. Ben was stronger than he looked. Despite his age, he fought fiercely. They rolled through the snow, trading blows. Then came a sharp crack. The edge of the old ravine gave way. The ground collapsed beneath them. Ben disappeared, along with a massive sheet of snow. Jake crawled to the edge. The drop was nearly 20 meters. The old man lay motionless among the rocks below. He was alive, but there was no way he could climb out on his own. An hour later, people from the ranch arrived. At last, the truth came out. The hidden caches, the stolen money, the forged documents, the missing workers. The investigation lasted for several months. It turned out that Ben had truly lived a double life for years. No one had ever suspected a thing. When they finally took him away, the old man looked broken. He never once looked toward Storm, as if he was afraid to meet the stallion's eyes. It seemed as though everything was over, but fate had one final blow prepared. A week later, a fire began, the worst in the history of the county. The flames came from the west. A powerful wind drove the fire straight toward the ranch. People tried to save the animals, tried to stop the flames, but nature was stronger. And then something happened that people would remember for decades. Because on that day, Storm performed an act that would turn him into a legend. And on that day, Jake finally understood just how deeply a person could love a horse. The fire appeared on the horizon before dawn. At first, people mistook it for an unusually bright sunrise. Then they smelled smoke. An hour later, the entire western sky had turned red. Jake stood by the corral and watched as a massive wall of fire moved across the plains. The wind was working in the fire's favor. Every gust pushed the flames closer. "We won't stop it," Clayton said quietly. No one argued. Everyone knew the truth. There was only one option left: evacuation. The workers began leading out the horses, loading supplies, driving the cattle toward the river. Real panic began. The animals sensed the danger. They neighed, pulled against their handlers, broke through fences. By noon, the fire was already dangerously close. That was when disaster struck. Little Ethan, the 10-year-old son of one of the ranch workers, had disappeared. At first, his parents thought he was near the stables. Then they started looking for him. Within minutes, his mother was screaming in terror. The boy was nowhere to be found. Jake immediately gathered the men. They searched the entire ranch, every barn, every corral, every ravine, but it was as if the boy had vanished, and the fire kept coming. "We have to leave," people shouted. "A few more minutes and it'll be too late." But Ethan's father refused to move. He kept searching for his son, until he finally dropped to his knees in the dust. God. At that moment, Storm lifted his head. The stallion was standing near the stable. His ears suddenly turned north. He was listening. Then, without warning, he bolted. "Storm!" Jake ran after him. The horse was moving so fast it was as if he knew exactly where to go. A few minutes later, they reached the old canyon, a place children were strictly forbidden to visit. It was dangerous, filled with crevices and hidden drop-offs. Storm suddenly stopped and let out a loud neigh. Jake heard an answer, very faint. Very far away, a child's voice. "Help!" Jake's heart stopped. Ethan. The boy had fallen into a narrow rock fissure. He was alive, but he couldn't climb out on his own. And the worst part was something else. The fire was already approaching the canyon. The wind was driving the flames straight toward them. There was almost no time left. Jake tried to climb down. It was impossible. The passage was too narrow. The ropes were too short. Every minute became precious. Then, something incredible happened. Storm carefully began making his way down the dangerous slope. Rocks crumbled beneath his hooves. One mistake could kill him, but the stallion kept moving, slowly, confidently, until he reached the boy. Ethan was crying. Storm walked up beside him. Then lowered himself onto his knees, as if he understood exactly what needed to be done. "Ethan!" Jake shouted from above. "Grab his neck!" The boy obeyed. Several endless seconds passed. Then the stallion began to climb. Every step was unbelievably difficult. Rocks tumbled downward. The smoke grew thicker. The flames were already visible among the trees. The people above held their breath. Storm climbed meter by meter, with the boy on his back, risking a fatal fall every second, and he almost reached the top. Almost. A massive boulder, heated by the wildfire, suddenly broke loose from the cliff. It rolled downward, straight toward them. "Storm!" Several people screamed at once. The stallion turned his head sharply, saw the danger, and did the only thing he could. With one powerful movement, he pushed Ethan upward, toward the people who managed to grab the boy. But he was too late. The boulder struck him with its full force. A terrible cracking sound echoed through the canyon. Storm disappeared into a cloud of dust and falling rocks. Everything happened in only a few seconds, but for Jake, time stopped. He rushed down the slope, feeling neither the smoke nor the heat, nothing except terror. When the dust finally settled, he saw the stallion. Storm lay among the rocks, breathing, but barely. Jake dropped to his knees beside him and placed a hand on his neck. "No," his voice broke. For the first time in many years, people saw tears on his face. Storm slowly opened his eyes and looked at his owner. The same way he had looked at him thousands of times before, calmly, faithfully, as if he wanted to say that everything was right, that the boy was alive, that this was what mattered. Jake stroked his mane, not noticing his own tears. "You're a good boy, a very good boy." Storm let out a quiet breath, looked one last time at the man he had loved his entire life, and closed his eyes. Forever, no one spoke. Even the wind seemed to fall silent. Even the fire itself seemed to retreat. People stood quietly, understanding that they had witnessed something greater than just the story of a horse. That day, the ranch was saved. Ethan was saved as well, but the price was high. A month later, a monument was erected on top of the hill, not to a man, to a horse. Everyone who came to Black Creek saw the bronze stallion gazing into the distance. Beneath the monument was a single inscription: "He always came back for those who needed help." The years passed. Ethan grew up, started a family of his own, but every year he returned to that hill. He placed flowers at the monument and told his children one story, the story of a stallion named Storm, the horse who saved his life twice, and one day saved an entire ranch, because true loyalty knows no fear, knows no pain, and sometimes proves stronger than death itself.
Thank you for watching and spending this time with us. If this story touched your heart, please support the channel by liking the video and subscribing. Your support helps us continue sharing powerful stories like this. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a story.